Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Thank you all for tuning in and joining us for today's virtual session with our friends at Lambda School. We're super excited to spend the next 60 minutes exploring powerful ways you can launch a family-friendly career in tech. We know it can be really hard to find time right now to dedicate to yourself and explore ways to level up professionally. So as always, we're grateful that you are here and we're able to make time for yourselves. Today marks the end of our first ever Skills Week. We have dedicated the past few days to educating you all on the power of reskilling and upskilling, and really just taking the time to connect you with proven resources that can help you acquire new skills that are very much in demand. This week also marks the official launch of our partnership with Lambda School. You're going to learn a lot about Lambda School and the opportunities they present during today's session, but at its core, we believe more women, moms, and caregivers can and should be represented in tech. That's why we're thrilled to partner with Lambda School to provide 500 moms and caregivers with the skills and training they need to level up or restart a career in tech. So whether you're thinking about a career pivot, workforce reentry, or anything in between, dedicating time to learning new technical skills can open up a multitude of doors for you and, frankly, a lifetime of opportunity. With that said, I'm excited to introduce Heather Spain, Program Manager of Student Success and Career Coaching with the Lambda School. Heather will be leading today's session and sharing with you all some important things to know as you explore a possible career in tech and coding. We'll also be joined by Sarah Fritz and Jordan Massengale, two individuals who successfully completed training with the Lambda School and launched careers in tech, all while managing the demands of caregiving. Finally, we'll dedicate the last 15 minutes or so of today's session to Q&A. So as always, feel free to drop your top questions into the chat and we will answer as many of those as we can today. And if you have any other questions, thoughts, feedback after the session, feel free to email community@themomproject.com. We're always checking that inbox. And we're also going to drop links into the chat just so you can read up a bit more about our partnership with Lambda School and how you can take advantage of that. So thank you all again for joining, and I'm excited to pass it off to Heather to kick things off.
Thanks, Katie. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the Mom Project for hosting this. I am such a big fan of the Mom Project. I am a member. So I have followed the Mom Project story for a long time. Again, I'm Heather Spain. I'm the manager of career coaching at Lambda School. Again, super excited to be here and so excited for this partnership. So I have the privilege of working with amazing students and folks like Jordan, again, so excited to be here and supporting students in their career and professional development and their job search. I am going to give you a bit of an overview of Lambda School, but I wanted to briefly share a bit about my career journey and my career path because it really is why I am here today and why I am so passionate about this work that Lambda is doing and that the Mom Project does. I have had, I guess, a bit of a circuitous career. Like a good story, hopefully it has lots of twists and turns. That's what I tell myself on the best of days. And it feels like it really makes sense here. I started out as a teacher. I worked in the nonprofit sector for many years. And then eventually I found myself in a job at Google doing communications. So I have not had a technical role in technology, but I've worked in technology for a long time. And that transition from working at small nonprofits mostly to a fast growing tech company was like drinking from a fire hose. It was exciting, it was challenging, it was painful at times, it was a period of huge growth. And during my 6 years there, let's see if I can get to my next slide. There we go. These two people entered my life. So I had two kids over my 6+ years at Google, and the role that I had eventually worked myself into was probably my dream job at the time, but honestly, things just weren't working. With a partner working in technology and as well, a toddler and a baby at the time, it felt like I was treading water in the deep part of a pool. And I was tired. And yet I didn't want to get out of the pool, but I just wanted to not be in the deep end. I wanted to be able to feel something under my feet. So long story short, I tried a lot of different things and it really just didn't work. Um, so I decided to leave Google, and it was both a gut wrenching and kind of a simple decision. I felt lucky that I could step away from full-time work temporarily, and I was working part-time. And I really got to focus on enjoying some of those early years with my kids. But honestly, I had a lot of fear and trepidation about getting back into the pool and getting back into the deep end of the pool. So driven by a lot of this experience, I became a leadership coach to really support people and caregivers and moms through navigating work and life. And, if they want to getting back into the deep end of the pool. So that is my way of saying that I have deep empathy and great understanding for people navigating career transitions, especially caregivers, people going through career pauses. And I really understand, again, how hard it is to get out and back into the pool, and believe that they're in providing so much support for those folks. One of the things we talk about at Lambda School a lot, I think when you do your orientation as a student, we talk about what our why is. And that is, I think, to really prepare students for, when things get hard in the curriculum, like, why are you here? And why are you doing this? And so that is something that I have thought a lot about. In addition to this pair, that is definitely my why. If I get to have more than one why, I would say that my why is really to help people build meaningful careers. And that's why and create opportunity. Again, that's why I'm so excited to be at Lambda School, and so excited for this partnership. And I find myself every day being so motivated and inspired by the grit and dedication of all of our students. So with that, I would like to just speak for a few minutes and give you kind of an overview of Lambda School and talk a little bit about the admissions process. And then I will get to the meat and be able to showcase a couple of our alumni, and then we'll do some questions at the end. So what is Lambda School? It's a place where you can train and get the support that you need to launch a career in tech. Why might you consider a career in tech? I think probably everyone has seen the statistics around the opportunities and job growth in the field of technology. Certainly, I think Glassdoor quoted in 2020, starting salary of a junior software engineer is anywhere between over $60,000 to $110,000. And there's really a lot of opportunity to do high impact and exciting work. A couple of the things that I think make Lambda School unique is that it's taught completely, all classes are online, classes are 100% live, and students have the option to defer paying tuition until they secure jobs that pay them over $50,000 a year. So Lambda School's success is totally dependent on our students' success, and that is very intentional. Since Lambda School only gets paid when students are hired, we provide a lot of support to help students reach that point. So there's lots of different things that we do, and I'll go over a few of them through this. Through the curriculum, students build real-world projects for their portfolio. And we also work a lot we have a team that works with hiring managers in industry to make sure to kind of help provide job opportunities for students, and also to make sure that the teaching that we're doing is really relevant to industry for students. So it's very, very hands-on. Starting day one, I believe, in class, students are meeting, you're paired with a student leader and a small group of students, and you're meeting daily with those folks. So there's a lot of peer-to-peer support. Again, there's a lot of career development support. There's starting, I think, your second week of class, there's a career and professional development curriculum. And there's also a lot, so in addition to the curriculum, there's career coaches available for you. There's a mentoring program. There's tons of support on that front. And that's just as important as your technical education is your professional and development education, and making sure that you are ready to find the tech job that you want after the program. So I think it's really, it is a strong option for caregivers and for moms. I talked a little bit about the tuition option. So Lambda uses an ISA, an income share agreement, which is an option for students to defer their tuition until after they secure a job. Again, that pays at least $50,000. So an ISA is a contract in which students pay 17% of their post-Lambda school salary for 24 months, only after you're making at least $50,000 a year. If something happens and you lose that job, the ISA is paused. If students never get a job that makes at least $50,000, they don't pay anything. So again, the whole model is very much designed on Lambda School succeeds if its student succeeds. And the ISA is capped at a maximum of $30,000, so you won't pay more than that. There's also an option to pay up front. So again, that is Lambda School's way of really investing in our students. We select students we believe are going to be successful, and we don't have them pay anything until they're in a financial position to pay us back. There are 3 tracks currently at Lambda: data science, iOS development, and full stack development. And all tracks are offered in both full and part-time options again. So very, 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 very thoughtfully designed for people who are caregivers and people who want different types of flexibility. At the end of the program, you'll receive over 1,000 hours of guided instruction. This is you can find this on our website, but this is a sample of what our full-time course schedule looks like. Noted in Pacific time. We call Lambda hours are in Pacific hours. So school time runs from 8 to 5 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. So you'll see, just glancing up that there's time to work, that there's curriculum time, there's time to work in small groups and self-guided projects, and time for breaks. And here is the part-time schedule. So you'll see, you can imagine going through the part-time program takes longer because it's shorter per day. A couple of other reasons why I wanted to highlight why Lambda is unique, and why, again, I think it's a great option for caregivers, is the curriculum is really focused on a mastery-based program, on making sure that students master each part of the unit before they progress to the next unit. So there's options also, if a student needs to repeat a unit, there's additional support designed in for that. And that, again, that is something that is very intentionally designed into the program. We want to make sure that students have the building blocks in order to progress in the program. I think learning in a remote environment, especially now in our COVID-19 world, is honestly really sets Lambda School apart because it's remote. Because it's remote, one thing, we see students in all corners of the world, that people don't need to spend time commuting. But I think also right now, seeing our students really be comfortable working and learning in remote environments sets them up for success in remote roles. Right now we're seeing a lot of students go through, even if they're not going to be in fully remote positions, they might be temporarily remote, and they're going through remote hiring processes. And I think our students are just really, really comfortable, again, going through interview processes and working in remote environments. And there's a lot of student and staff support, and that shows up in a lot of different ways. We have Slack is kind of like our campus, so there's a lot of different Slack channels. There's parent Slack channels, there's mental health Slack channels, there's all kinds of interest-based Slack channels. We also have a really cool relationship with Modern Health. There's definitely a focus on supporting our students as whole people. So Modern Health students are able to meet with mental health specialists or counselors for free remotely. So that's a service that we offer. a couple of more support things we have. There are a lot of things like brown bag meetings. There's meetups. We have, people, alumni come and speak to students. We have people from industry come and talk to them. So it's a very rich online community. And in addition to, again, instructors and student leaders and, staff like myself, like coaches, one of the things that I got to do, I went through the first week of Lambda School during my orientation, which was a humbling experience for sure. And one of the things that I was amazed about then, that I'm still amazed at, is just the level of support that you receive from your peers, just going into Slack channels. You're working on a problem that you get stuck on, and so many people are ready to help you. So there's definitely a feeling of we're all in the trenches together. So we have an incredibly diverse body of students, again, like I said, from all corners of the US, from metropolitan areas, from rural areas, again, part of being a remote school, from all different ages, backgrounds. We have some students with PhDs, some without undergraduate degrees. We have students, it's such a really cool, diverse body of students. And what unites them all, and I think what we look for in applicants, these are some of the things that we look for. So, being a developer and becoming a data scientist or developer in a short amount of time is hard, as our alumni can tell you. So looking for students looking for people that are strong problem solvers. They're confident if they can find an answer, even if they really kind of have to wrestle for it. Again, related to that, we want people who are proactive, who are going to ask questions if they ask for what they need if they need help. That's really important. A team player, again, it's hard to think of a tech role where you aren't going to be working on a team or doing something collaborative. So we really, really want to think about folks who are willing to collaborate with others, have good communication skills, take feedback well, digitally savvy, again, career focused. Really want to make sure that those are folks that are really focused on getting tech jobs. And we like to say gritty, which I think sums up a lot of this. So those are some of the things that we look for in applicants. The application process, it's 3 phases. So you create an account and submit an application, a little bit about your background and your interests. Then there's a pre-course piece. You'll complete a series of short lessons. It will depend on which track you are applying for. Once you've completed the pre-course work, you choose your start date, you sign an enrollment agreement, and you confirm your tuition methods. Again, if you're curious to learn more, there is a website which describes our partnership, and you can certainly go to our website and look at our admissions pages. There's a lot of great videos of students, I think, talking about their journey. Our blog is called The Commons, so we have a lot of great stuff to read on there. And we also have, or you can also, of course, contact at lambdaschool.com with any questions. And with that, I would love to first hand it over to Jordan Massengill, one of our alumni, who's going to share more about her experience.
Hello, everyone. So I guess I'll take a moment to explain my background and what brought me to Lambda and why I decided that it was the right thing for me. I don't want to go too far back, but I did start off as a teenage mother. I was 17 when I had my daughter. And although I was a great student, being a teen mother gives its own set of challenges in terms of trying to excel in a career way or trying to get through college and also raising a small child by yourself. And I've been a single mother for many years. And so I do have a partner and we live together now, but he found Lambda School and he showed it to me. And my initial reaction was, this is definitely a scam. Nobody wants to help low-income moms try to figure out a way to not be low-income moms anymore. So I really didn't believe it. But I did a couple of months of research, and I was kind of astounded at how well Lambda's, the incentives that Lambda puts in place incentivizes Lambda to make sure that you can get a job, and incentivizes you to work really hard so that you can get that pay. So I roughly tripled my former income to what it is now. So I have a degree in biology. I didn't really use it in any of my jobs. I guess the closest I came to using it after college was I worked for Girl Scouts, which is a nonprofit, and I worked as a STEM program director. So I created like STEM-based activities for girls, but never really touched anything tech related. I did have one semester in 2011 of a like intro to programming class, which is HTML and CSS. So it was very basic and not really, like, it wouldn't have given me the tools I needed to be a developer. So I gave Lambda a shot because I had been trying for years to get into a PhD program, and had been trying to, as most moms know, like your number one goal is to create a good life for your children. Like once you have children, that's kind of moves to the top of the list of things that are most important to you. So in my former situation, I was working at AIG trying to get into a PhD program and thinking like, by the time I get a really good job at a university in academics, my daughter is going to be grown. She turns 13 very soon. So it was sort of a situation of like, wow, I'm going to be working my butt off and putting us all through a lot of sacrifices and really not having much to show for it before she's an adult herself. So Lambda School, because of all of that, really appealed to me in a situation where like, I knew that I was okay, at least at the programming stuff. And like I did the pre-course to see like, okay, am I going to be good at this? Or do I like this? Or do I hate it? If I hate it, it's definitely not worth it. And after doing the pre-course, I decided, okay, this is worth really throwing myself into this for, at the time it was a 6-month program, and then moved to 7 months because I started 2 years ago. So I just jumped all in, and it's very hard. I would say next to being a teenage mother and trying to go through college, it is the second hardest thing I've done in my life. So Lambda is very difficult, but they put everything that they can think of to try to help you through is there for you to use. Not everybody uses every resource. Not everybody needs every resource, but there are tons of resources that Lambda provides to make sure that you have everything that you need to get through, whether it be, I don't have a laptop, or I need to take a break because somebody in my family passed away and I can't focus right now, or, anything like that. Like those are all resources that they put in place for you to take advantage of. So yeah, I don't want to undersell how difficult it is, because it is difficult, but the difficulty is more in being able to talk yourself into not quitting when you feel overwhelmed. Because in my experience, and in the experience of everyone I know, everyone comes to a point of feeling overwhelmed and feeling like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I, dropped everything to do this. But then if you're willing to take a deep breath and move to get to the other side of that, then you realize oh, I was just having a bad day, or that was just a really difficult section for me. But the willingness to kind of push through that feeling that makes you want to quit is what separates the people who get into Lambda generally and the people who don't. That's what they mean when they say grit. Are you willing to push through those feelings of, I may fail at this? Because honestly, that's the only thing that keeps people from, in my experience and from my view, the only thing that has kept anyone from finishing Lambda is getting to that overwhelm point and then letting it take over. So yes, Lambda is difficult, but it is the most worth it thing I think I've ever done. Like I said, my income is tripled. I got to move to Austin, Texas. I have the best job I've ever had in my life with the best coworkers I've ever had in my life. My daughter is able to go to an alternative private school, and I'm able to pay back both my student loans and my Lambda payments and live very comfortably. So for me, it was very worth it. And for all of my friends who went through, it was also kind of the same thing. Like, yes, it's hard, but at the end of it, it's like, oh my gosh, my life is completely different. So there's my spiel.
That's wonderful. Thank you for being so honest and candid and sharing, your experience. And I think, like you said, it's not easy, but it was a commitment you made. And I think that's exactly what, everybody tuned in here wanted to hear, that like you went through all the options, you did the research, and you kind of, were able to confidently step into it and keep pushing through. So thank you. Yeah, for your candor there. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to make one more point, because I don't know if I made this clear, but it seemed as though that the grit was a far more important quality to have than anything like academic achievement. That really didn't seem to matter as much. And it was just much more like almost being too stubborn to quit. Like, that was honestly the one biggest thing that I saw in people that helped to push them to the end. Because I had friends who didn't even have a high school diploma who got through Lambda and have even a better job than I do. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of make that point, because I know a lot of moms sometimes feel self-conscious if they don't have a college degree, or if, it's not related to what they want to go into, then it's a little bit scary. But honestly, the biggest thing is just a willingness to like just be stubborn about it.
Yeah. No, and we hear that question a lot too. Like, oh, my background looks like this, I can never make it work. Like, and it's, it's important to kind of reiterate that point, that like the opportunity is there. It's just like figuring out how to kind of seize it and make it happen for you. So that's really great. And it looks like Sarah joined us as well, also a Lambda alumni. So would love for you to just kind of share your experience, how you kind of, your background, how you got to Lambda, and how you were able to kind of navigate it all while, having caregiving responsibilities.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Sarah. I was in the 3rd class of Lambda. That was a long time ago. But I started Lambda when my youngest son went to kindergarten. And prior to that, I hadn't been working for a little bit. I had a job before that doing customer service, and it didn't work with the kids. And if I had to be out because they were sick or whatever, it was just awful. So I left my job, and I do have a husband. So fortunately, he was able to like financially handle all that. It was stressful though, I will say. One day I was online and I saw Lambda, and at that time you could take like a quiz as part of the application process. So I did that, got in right away, and started shortly thereafter. It was pretty fast at that time. Oh, I lost my train of thought a little bit. So I started in the class, and when I was considering Lambda, I was like, well, I'm not working right now, and you don't have to pay unless you get a good job. So there's not a ton of risk to me. I can do it while the boys are in school and everything. I have 2 children. So I started, and it was really hard. I was impressed with the teachers. I'm still impressed with the teachers. The resources that she was talking about, I found especially that the teachers and instructors were one of the best resources even after I was finished with Lambda. I've switched jobs, and I came back and I was like, hey, I need help, I need references, and they all were 100% whatever I needed there to help me. I've doubled my income since the job I had previous to when I didn't have a job, but obviously completely increased my income since I didn't have a job. I work in Nebraska, and that was very important to me that I could stay in Nebraska. My children's father is here, and Lambda really helps me with that. I live in a small town, and I really enjoy that. My work is great. I'll tell you a little bit about my work, just so you can kind of see like what can come of this. My title is Developer Liaison for a company called Beaver Creek Marketing. They used to be a traditional advertising company, but now they work exclusively for banks. And what I do is anytime a client wants something special, or interactive on either the products that we make for them or something that they'll put on their own website. I take that request, I make it, and give it back to them. If it's a bigger request, I might get a team together. And Lambda gave me the ability to be able to do that because you really start at your very basics and go all the way through deploying an app. So you get everything you need, like the full spectrum of it, and that was really valuable. There's not a lot of traditional coders who have the entire process, at least in the area I'm in. So that was really beneficial to me. And as for how parenting while in Lambda was, that was definitely difficult. I relied on my husband a lot. There were definitely times where I just kind of wanted to quit, but you just kind of have to power through those times and reach out to your instructors and let them know, hey, my kid has the flu and I might need to not be in class for a few days. And they will totally work with you, meet with you after class, send you a video, whatever you need. So that's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your story as well. And you know, it's really interesting to hear just like how varied people's backgrounds can be, and like can all still do it and achieve and like come out stronger on the other side. And yeah, I mean, you guys both attested to just like the incredible support that Lambda provides to their students, which, like, you know, especially as a parent, like your village, you know, as trite as that term can be sometimes, is so important. And it's like, it's really comforting to know that, you know, as if someone were to embark in kind of the journey with Lambda, that Lambda does actually become part of that village overall and like pushing you to keep going. So that's really great. Really, really great. Awesome. Well, Heather, if you don't have any other further slides you wanted to get through, we can go to the Q&A portion of the session. All right, great. So, oops, sorry, wrong. Pulling up some questions here. So first question is, I'm seriously considering taking the leap and diving into a career in tech and coding. Before I make the commitment, do you have any specific research or exploration you would recommend in order to help me be 100% sure that this is the right move for me right now? I know you guys touched on some pre-course work and that sort of thing, but anything, you know, you could share more about that or beyond that people might want to think about?
I have some thoughts. I don't ever want to be considered somebody who is like Lambda or nothing, because there are lots of different ways that people can learn to become a developer and get out there and code. For me, the structure of Lambda and having the expectation of me being there, of me showing up, was a big thing, because it's like a lot of people say, well, you can teach yourself for free. All of those resources are available online for free if you know how to dig them up and if you can figure out the right progression. And that is true. But as a mother, it's very difficult to force yourself to sit down and do stuff like that when you have kids and you have things that are begging for your attention. I also find that Lambda's career placement resources is completely, like, I think that's what makes Lambda above and beyond. I know people here in Austin who graduated from Austin's boot camp, because Austin has its own full stack boot camp at UT Austin, and they graduated in January and they are still searching for a job. I received my job within a week of graduating from Lambda school. So, or at least my job offer. So things like that kind of show me, and they help you complete your resume and make it look really good and make you stand out. They help you complete your LinkedIn. They help you complete your personal website, and you constantly have those resources, and you have those resources even after you leave. So in my opinion, Lambda is definitely kind of hands down the best choice, but it depends on what you need and what you're trying to get out of something like that. So you can teach yourself if you're in more of like I don't want to have to pay anything back and I just want to do it myself, and I think that I'm self-disciplined enough to figure that out. I think that that's perfect. And then there are other shorter boot camps that don't go in as depth as Lambda does, and they don't have the career placement services, but they're probably cheaper. So it's just a matter of like, what are your needs right now? And what's most important to you. But in my opinion, just the job search assistance and the community that Lambda provides are things that make it above and beyond, on top of the curriculum, which is great too. Sarah, do you have any extra opinions on that?
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of that. I would also add that you should look at the type of career in tech that you're thinking about getting into. Even within Lambda, there's a lot of diverse options, and you should definitely consider the area that you want to be in. If you're in an area that's like has a lot of older systems and stuff, you might want to focus more one way. If you really want to build front, excuse me, if you really want to build front end stuff, you might want to focus more on that. Prior to going to Lambda, I didn't fully realize all the different options. So then after I started my career, I kind of had to be like, okay, what am I going to do now? So if you could research that beforehand and know exactly what you want to do, it'll really streamline your process. And I would say also the career placement and team with Lambda is amazing. I started my first job the day after I graduated Lambda. I didn't even take a day off, so it's great.
And I would just quickly add to, those are great pieces of advice. I think talking to as many people as you can in the types of jobs and technology that you're interested in, and just gathering information is great. And the other thing I just wanted to add is that the ISA at Lambda doesn't kick in until you've gone through 4 weeks of coursework. So there is like Lambda wants to make sure, is this right for you right now? So that's another way that we've designed that into the school.
That's awesome. I mean, full support. And that's why, this whole week with Skills Week, we've been telling people, like, do your research, talk to people, ask questions, really kind of understand what this can mean. I mean, there's like a multitude of sources of information out there, but I do think trying to reach out and have like conversations with people about what it is like, once you've made the jump and transitioned into a career in tech is important too. So all good insights there. Cool. Okay. Next question. So I guess specifically for Sarah and Jordan and Heather, you can jump in too. How were you able to be 100% certain that you could handle a full course load and responsibilities of a family? Did you do a dry run or a test before you enrolled? Or did you have any like hacks to share that really worked well for you? Yeah, any insight you can share there?
I'll go ahead. I did some trial and error, honestly. I wasn't 100% sure when I started. I hoped that I could, and I trusted that my children are, not terrible. But at one point, my kid did stick a key in an electrical socket, so that was definitely an interesting day. But what ended up working really well was that I had a dedicated area and like a set time that I was going to do certain things, and you just couldn't bother me unless you were like, electrocuted between those times. So that ended up working pretty well.
Yeah. So I tend to be a very stubborn person anyway. So I was just like, okay, well, if it's possible for anyone to do it, then it's going to be possible for me to do it, and I'll just figure it out. In hindsight, I do wish that I had done something more like a trial run, so that I had been more prepared mentally and emotionally for some of the strain, because it does, like, when the mom, who tends to be kind of the center of the family in a lot of ways with like children, and if you've got a husband, with your husband, or if you have a partner, it's sometimes very difficult if you are that person and then you're thrown into, kind of, as Heather said, into the deep end, because Lambda is very much a fire hose to the face in terms of material and in terms of how much you're learning and how quickly. So I will say, personally, I struggled a little bit because I lost a lot of time with my daughter, because in Central Time, Lambda is 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So there wasn't a lot of time in the mornings. Her bedtime was 9 o'clock in the evenings, and I was sometimes cooking dinner. My partner actually took over dinner about halfway through Lambda because it was just getting too stressful. But so if you're going to go into Lambda, making a plan ahead of time of how to find really good quality time with your kids, how to find really good personal alone time, because you will need it. And understanding that once Lambda is over, you can, like, there are ways to try to move back into that equilibrium that you had beforehand. But it definitely was a lot of adjustment for both myself and my daughter. And then my partner, we just started living together when I started Lambda, so that he could help support me through Lambda. So it was us learning how to live together and my daughter learning how to kind of live with us together, all of us, and all of us adjusting to me having a lot less time to dedicate to any one person. So if you go into it knowing that that's the case and being intentional about trying to set time specifically to be present with your kids, to be present with your partner, and then to be present for yourself, then I think that you can have a whole lot of success. It just was a lot of trial and error for me for the first couple of months until we found a good rhythm. But like I said, I'm just kind of the stubborn type, and I'm like, well, it's possible, so I'll just figure it out as I go. But I definitely do think that Sarah's tactic of trying to do a dry run, or thinking about how your life is right now and what adjustments you would need to make so that you had a full, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Lambda time block set aside just for you. On the East Coast, that's even harder because it's 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. So it's really, it's just it's a personal choice. It's a very personal choice. And it's understandable for the people who say that just doesn't work for me, because I can see that as a parent. I can definitely see, like, for some people that just is not possible. But yeah, I would say that trying to be intentional about how you manage your family's time is probably will be your biggest benefit.
No, all really, really good insights. And something we actually were discussing earlier this week was that actually, like, right now, obviously everybody has the entire world on their plate, like between working and schooling and being home with your kids all day. So we're all getting a lot of perspective of just how far we can stretch ourselves. So I think, once we kind of come out the other side of all of this, we'll know exactly how much we can actually handle. So I think we're all kind of being tested right now of, how we're able to kind of manage all of this in ways we probably never expected. So awesome. Good insights there. Okay. So next question is, I put a high value on making sure that my career is family friendly. When you talk about building a family friendly career in tech, what forms does that typically take? Is it a flexible schedule, extensive benefits? I mean, love to hear more of, like, how that's kind of manifests itself for, you, Jordan and Sarah, but also at a larger scale, Heather, like across the industry.
I can start. I think that my job is pretty family friendly. I'll give an example. Yesterday we found out that my children's father was going to be tested for COVID, and I was pretty upset about that. And I just let my boss know it was no big deal. It's never a big deal. Anything with the kids, they're just completely fine with me rearranging my schedule, whatever. And I think that that's very important, especially right now when we don't know, they might go back to school and then have to come home the next day for a week or two. And we just kind of have to play that by ear. And I think that more family friendly scheduling involving specifically flexibility of hours is going to be more important. Yes. And then another thing they do is anytime the schools close or anything like that, we're given the option to either work from home or to take the day off or whatever. So, and I think that's really important too. It just gives parents the ability to have days when your kids are going to be home from school, that you're also off, so you can spend some of that time with them that you might not get to during the week because you're working so hard. So I think that's important.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel a little bit spoiled at my current job because I have by far the most benefits I've ever had, like the most perks and things like that. So at this job, We have a flexible remote work policy, so we can work remotely at any point, anytime that we want to. So like, for instance, in August, I went and worked in Florida from the beach for a week because I have family down there. And instead of taking a week off, I didn't have to take any of my vacation time, which is also, I have unlimited vacation. So I can take off anytime I need to. And I also I'm not expected to work 8 hours a day. My expected hours are, I think, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then I come in earlier and stay a little bit later just to kind of, because I want to, but I don't have to. So things like that. And then on top of that, like yesterday, in fact, I just messaged my team at 2 and I was like, I really need to get out of the house with my kid. So I just left for the afternoon and went and hung out at an outdoor river creek thing, and we went swimming. So after being spoiled to that, it's really going to be difficult to me to ever go any other place that doesn't have those benefits. But luckily, those are more common benefits in tech than just about any other industry. So I would say it very much depends on where you're looking, because if you're looking at just a very new startup, things are going to be super fast, rapid iterations, not a lot of time off, because you're going to need to be there for every single situation, and you're one of very few developers, or of whatever position you're in, that there's not somebody else that can be relied on if you're not there. So I will say there's a difference in that and being at a larger, my company is still startup-like, but it's huge. There are almost 1,000 employees across the world. So they have the resources that they can afford to give me the benefits, and they can afford to let me just take off whenever I need to, because there's always somebody there to pick up the slack. So that's definitely something you should look for when you are looking for a job. Big companies, humongous companies, are all about efficiency. So they try to make everything so efficient that sometimes you get boxed in and you don't get those benefits. And then the super tiny startups tend to not have those benefits because they're not big enough yet. So there's a sweet spot in the middle of large enough that they can afford to give you those benefits, but not so big that everything is only about efficiency. But yeah, I'd say those benefits are pretty widespread across tech in some form or another. Pretty flexible time, generally pretty flexible with remote work, and generally pretty flexible with kind of letting you take off if you need to take care of your kids. Like I said, it isn't a blanket across the board thing, but it is a lot more common.
And yeah, I would totally agree with all that. And just to add to that, and also, so I think it is a combination, and it's really personal, obviously, from what Jordan and Sarah were saying. And just another thing that I've observed, it's also what I've needed as a caregiver has changed as my kids have gone through the ages. When I came back from maternity leave and I was on a team where there really weren't other people with babies or kids at the time, I had had these amazing benefits, which was great, but I came back and it felt like some of this was, there was an expectation that everything was back to normal, and yet everything had changed in my life. And so I think what I needed more then was more flexibility and more more of a ramp up. And now at Lambda School, I work remotely, which again is wonderful. And, for this stage in my life as a caregiver, it's great to be able to, help my daughter get on a Zoom call in a half an hour, for instance. So that is really, really important to me. So I feel like it's also, I realized it, perhaps it changes as it goes. And one of the things that I've noticed is underlying, is there a sense that the company is really, seeing me not just as a productive employee, but as a whole person with a life outside of that. And I think that's really what I think about, that kind of guides all the particulars of the benefits for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we always, with the Mom Project, with the companies we work with, we obviously partner with organizations that are family friendly, but we do always say, you got to get clear with yourself on what your priorities are. And, as you're navigating that and kind of out there interviewing for jobs, ask the right questions, get to understand, what is flexibility? What does it need to be for you right now? Is it the ability to work from home 1 day a week, 2 days a week? Or is it just that, like, you know that they have a parent's ERG or something like that, where you know you'll feel supported? So just getting clear on like what things are going to help you thrive, you know, once you've gotten the job and are there, is important. And it, you know, we always say it can become, if you're asking the right questions like early on, it can become pretty obvious if a company's not so family friendly, and you can know to keep looking. So yeah, all good insights. Cool. All right. So another question, I think this one would be more directed to Heather, is, you know, for someone who maybe is not currently working right now, you know, due to, you know, the virus or some other kind of trickle down impact, what does the admissions like cycle and program cycle look like? Like, how often does it start? How long between, you know, application time and getting going? Like, how long does that typically take?
Ooh, I would have to follow up. So in general, classes are starting once a month, I think, generally, and someone can hop in if they know that that's now different. So admissions are going on you can apply at any point in time. And again, you can go on the site and see, depending on the track that you're interested, there's different start times, but they're pretty frequent. So it's not like a traditional higher ed where it's just starting once a year. We have new classes, new cohorts of students starting every couple of weeks. So it's a pretty quick cycle. That said, you know, there's some people, again, who apply and then maybe something comes up in their life and it's not the right time. So then they may delay that a little bit. Did I answer all parts of the question, Katie?
Yeah, I think people were just trying to get it. They're trying to get a sense of like, if I apply, like, do I have to wait until September and get in, you know, or December to start? So that's good to know. It's like more of a rolling program. Cool. So for someone who might be coming from a background like finance, but they're interested in kind of making this pivot, embarking on a career in tech, but they don't necessarily know people in tech to kind of do their research. Do you guys have any other recommendations on how they might be able to kind of explore this a little bit more and see if it's a good option for them?
I have a few that I would use. First of all, you're welcome to message me at any point. If you want to find me on LinkedIn, I'd be happy to collaborate with you. And then if I needed to, introduce you to somebody that I know that may be in the position that you're looking into. Another resource that has been completely invaluable to me, and I didn't start it until I was in Lambda and they strongly suggested, was Twitter. So I was never a Twitter person and I didn't really see any value in it. But as soon as I got towards the end of my Lambda studentship, I started Twitter and started posting stuff that's like, it doesn't have to be a fully professional Twitter profile, but kind of leaning on the more professional side, talking a little bit about code. But specifically, there are a ton of people, like content creators on Twitter, who are geared specifically towards people who are thinking about breaking into tech. So if you put tech newbie or code newbie, those are all hashtags that are used on Twitter, and you can look through like pages and pages of that stuff and just learn a little bit about other people's experiences, what resources they use to like do some programming activities to see if they actually like it. And that, I think, would be a great starting point if you're looking into it and want to see if that's something you might be interested in doing.
Those are great suggestions. Again, feel free to message me. And I think I'm not a huge Twitter person either, but I'm a big LinkedIn person. So I think, and we do this a lot with students, giving them kind of the tools and skills to go, you know, find interesting profiles of folks and kind of sharpen your cold email skills and just reach out to people. I feel like in general, people love to talk about their careers, especially if they love them and themselves. So I think that can be a great thing to do. I think especially now in these times where I feel like people want to help and some people may have some extra time. So I think that's great. And then again, I know that there's not a lot of in-person events right now or any, but there's still a lot of great virtual networking events, and, you know, especially where you are, where you want to work, there's a lot of great virtual events now for women in tech. I know I'm in Portland, and there's a lot of really, really great groups here. So I would just encourage people to noodle around.
There's also a lot of Discord channels. Like you can find local Discord or Slack channels for pretty much any topic that you might want to be interested in, just code ones in general even. And those are pretty helpful, and everybody's usually pretty friendly. They're all on there to talk about code, so that's what they want to do. Those have been really helpful to me. I've met some interesting people in there.
Awesome. All really great suggestions. And yeah, I think especially right now, people are very generous with their time. So it's like, try sending a random LinkedIn message. You never know, like somebody might be, you know, willing, a well thought out LinkedIn message. We always say that, like, make sure there's like a story in there, but yeah, it's a good time to explore. One more like logistical question before we sort of wrap things up. So you have full-time and part-time programs. How long is the length of the course? Like, does it end up stretching out to be longer if you're enrolled in the part-time versus the full-time?
Yes, it is longer. And so there's different. So first you go through your core programming, whether you're in part-time or full-time, and it's obviously going to be almost twice as long. It's what the core curriculum, I think, if part-time or sorry, full-time is about 4 months. So it's going to be about double that for part-time. And then there's different parts of the program that are more based on, you know, building our project based. So you're not doing the core curriculum, but you're doing more projects. So the part-time is about, I think, double for the full-time.
Got it. All right, well, it's just about time here right now, but we just want to say thank you again for you all for being here and really kind of sharing your stories and your experiences and kind of, you know, educating the group here today on why this is a viable option for them and how they can kind of explore this further. We're really excited to just continue to build this partnership with you guys at Lambda School. And yeah, for those who are interested in learning more, applying, we'll drop our partnership link in the chat again right now. And yeah, I mean, we're just here to answer any questions. If you want to email community@themomproject.com, we can answer questions. Otherwise, Heather, you had an email address you had said earlier. Sorry.
Oh yes, it's in. I don't know if participants are going to get the deck, but it's contact@Lambda School. You can also just go on Lambda School's website and find it there and find everything there. So I would probably just recommend just going to lambdaschool.com, and there's a contact email there.
Awesome. Well, Heather and Jordan and Sarah, thank you all so much for being here and sharing your experiences. And yeah, hopefully we've helped a few of you that are tuned in today kind of get clear on this is something you want to pursue, and hopefully we need more women in tech. So please, I hope it helped get a few of you over the line. But yeah, have a wonderful holiday weekend, everyone. And thank you again for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.